listening from podcasts, reading on like forums and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and looking into a little bit more of the details there, and then occasionally just hearing from a friend that this is a good investment, and
So
not looking into it at all and just putting my money into
do you have
it.
any specific stocks that stick out to you that you've been the most speculative on in a sense?
Yeah, so let's see. I bought AMC
Nice.
like after it went up a lot. So I think it's actually gone up again.
It has.
So
It
it's gone
has.
up quite a bit. And I bought GameStop when all that hype was going on for it, and it went up. Well, I didn't buy it at the top peak, but I bought it pretty high.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's down a bit. I think that's down like 30% or something like that.
Here, I'll look it
So
up.
that's like the most speculative um, as well. And then I did some day trading type stuff as well. So I did Dogecoin would probably be another speculative. I didn't put a lot of money into that though. And then I did buy some. I did mess around with a little bit of options trading as well, which is
This
probably
guy.
the, oh my gosh. Wow.
Yeah, this is over the last 6 months with AMC.
Look at that.
Yeah, I mean it
That's
was
pretty
like
good. So I think
$2.
I probably bought it right around that top right there. I
They're here.
remember.
This $20 a share.
Yeah, probably. So I was driving to California, driving back from California at the same time this was happening.
Wow.
And I was listening to like all the talk about GameStop. That it was like all on the news like 24/7, and there's nothing else to do besides listen to it. And I was like, I need to put some money into this because this is gonna make the drive way more fun. And it did, but it wasn't smart. But
Yeah.
I didn't lose too much,
I mean, again,
fortunately.
long-term holding is the the name of the game.
Yeah, yeah,
If it's only about the realized gains or losses that matter, right?
yeah,
So,
yeah.
um,
So for some reason I'm still holding on GameStop, but yeah.
yeah,
um, I
it's
did
really
I
only the
did
last
that.
day that just
Yeah,
crashed.
I did I did some um option. Oh, that's probably one of the dumbest things I've done is back in February last year, the stock market like started to go down a little bit, and I was
Mm,
like, well, there's all this hype around coronavirus. That's there's every 2 years there's like a new like swine flu type thing that never pans out, and now like the travel stocks and stuff are going down a little bit. I'm like, I'll get some options here,
mm.
it's not going to be anything. and then and then March hit. And that was yeah, that was like right when I got into some started
Wh-
investing a little bit more.
So you started doing options in like January, February then?
I did a little some options in February, and I
On what
lost like all the
stocks?
um I forget which stocks. It was like I think it was like travel, like it might have been like Delta or something like that. Um and it wasn't like a long term uh options either. I think it was like expiration date of like November, December.
Actually, oh yeah,
Um
let me go back. Yeah, boom.
yeah, so I bought Delta stocks when it crashed, but okay, can you go yeah. Yeah, there we go. There it is.
Yeah.
So yeah, I basically lost all that money. Um, but I don't think it was a travel stock. I forget. There's a couple.
So
Um,
So
So yeah,
there's going to be some delay, I think, until if you're seeing it on your screen. But yeah,
okay,
I have done some jets back when it crashed down here. I got some, and so I mean that's been good. But jets is like a ETF of like a lot of different travel, specifically airline stocks.
yeah,
It hasn't actually gone. Yeah, I mean it's gone up. I think as much as I think I would have expected it to, but I was really actually thinking it would have gone up more, like
yeah,
back up to like 30 something at this point. But I guess
yeah,
it's full recovery there.
yeah. It's interesting. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So definitely options. It's very risky. It's more or less like gambling. Unless you know really what you're doing, um,
right.
you're probably gonna lose your money if you do
It
that.
You have to like know a lot of the terms and verbiage, and you need to understand exactly what like calls and puts are, and understand like what you're if you're in the money, out of the money, and then uh oh, there's so much to to keep in mind there,
Yeah,
and
for
if you even
sure.
want to hold it until until it has to execute, right? Because they're timed, right? So it's like, okay, so I bought this option for I don't know how many weeks or months or potentially shorter or longer terms than that. Um,
Yeah.
and it's just like, well, you don't actually have to hold it. You just hold, or buying the contract for that
Yeah,
stock or that purchase or
exactly.
sell, which is crazy to
So
think about.
yeah, that was one of my worst probably. I made it up a little bit. I think January. I I've only bought options a few times, but I've looked into it a lot because I found it interesting,
Yeah,
and you saw all the hype around options and stuff like that. It's really expensive to buy a decent option too, like
yeah,
because it's 100 times the stock price. So if if it's a decent like in the money call, then it's gonna be pretty expensive if it's not like a really cheap stock. And if it's a really cheap stock, then it's not really worth it to get a call option.
mm-hmm.
I don't know. So there's definitely some interesting ways you can reduce risk by using some options trading, and there's a few cool strategies that you can use. But I haven't gotten that sophisticated with it.
Like by buying the actual stocks and then like also buying the contracts for like a call or a put, and then so at
Yeah,
least you're like, guaranteed something either way,
yeah,
like hedging your bet.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
There's like you got the band where you'll you won't be able to um you won't be able to make a ton of money off the investments, but it can be used seemingly fairly intelligently if you want to get really sophisticated with it.
Right.
And I've I've looked into that a little bit. I haven't been confident enough to actually go through with any of those strategies yet, but
Right.
maybe at some point.
It's yeah. I'm in the same boat,
Yeah.
honestly. Option
One
trading.
of I guess the other bigger bet I placed was right before the Georgia elections. Um,
Ooh.
I bought a few call options on some weed stocks because like every indication was pointing towards uh the Democrats winning that race. Like um I was kind of tracking because I found the politics of it like kind of interesting. I was tracking the polling, and the polling went from one went from like Republicans were up by one to Democrats were slowly gaining. And then there were like two or three news stories that came out really bad for Republicans like the day before.
Mm,
And there was definitely not indicated in the polling yet. So it seemed to me at least like it was a fairly high probability that they would actually win those. Um, and they ended up winning them. And then
those
the
must have been
the
awesome.
yeah, so I think I basically evened out from the earlier earlier ones
Do
that
you
I
do you,
lost money in.
any specific stock picks that you remember from that experience?
I forget the
The
I think
tickers.
𝗿𝗂𝘀 or something like that.
I'll try it. How do you, what's the
𝗿𝗂𝘀𝘁, I think.
it looks like it's like a Tory Burch thing. I'll put that back up. T-O-R-Y?
𝗿𝗂𝘀.
T-L. Tillery. Tilray. Yeah, pharmaceutical company.
They actually went through a merger with
Ooh,
somebody
shit.
else.
Wow. Like dollars to like 63 February.
Yeah. So
Wow. Look at
I was able
this.
to get a
20.
decent, but there was definitely still a chance that they wouldn't have won both elections. So that was a high risk play for sure.
Interesting. Interesting. I know there's these ACB I know is Aurora. It seems like they're hopefully doing all right. No.
Yeah. Yeah, they've kind of gone along with the tech bubble, I guess, a little bit. Like those stocks,
Yeah.
they were they went up a lot February, I think maybe into March a little bit, and then the past couple of months they've gone down quite a bit.
Wow. Yeah, these are
Yeah,
intense.
I had Aurora too for a second.
Seems like this is at least Canopy's doing all right.
Yeah, so that was just like a I don't know. Yeah, that's just like what seemed like was gonna happen. And then I bought a little bit of bought a little bit of Jacobs Engineering, I think, as well, in case, because I figured at some point there's going to be an infrastructure plan that goes through.
That's a good one. I mean, I think there are memes about Biden talking about infrastructure. This is a great
Yeah,
stock. Whoa, geez, look at you.
yeah.
How do you find out about this company?
So I did some research on like the impacts on the election, I guess, election would have, and it seemed like they would be one of the beneficiaries if there is a Biden presidency and
Well, you seem to be right
the
on
Senate.
that.
Um,
Almost doubled last year.
yeah. So I don't have a ton in that, but that was another one. One of the other uh speculative things I did. So of course, like these are the counterbalance to the GMEs of the world and the travel stocks I originally bought.
Yeah, this is
um,
great.
but but one of the other things that I was looking into when the whole GME thing, so I got like really into investing for a little while there,
Nice.
and and when the GME thing went, I was following like the Reddit forums and stuff like that as well, because they actually have a decent amount of interesting information on them. There's a lot of ridiculousness, but
Right, right.
so right after, like for the week after, um, week or so after GME went skyrocketed, then there's all this news on like mainstream media about these forums and stuff like that,
Like
these
Reddit
Reddit
and stuff.
forums.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Wall Street Bets was a big one, but another one, like it was gaining a lot of traction, and like there were tons of new people on all these forums, and there's a ton of new investors that just started following them. So what would happen, I started noticing, you would get these posts that blew up during the day. There'd be a stock, they had like all the catchphrases, like there's due diligence on this, and they do a long essay about why it's really working. And then it becomes like a top post on all of Reddit. And the stock, like clockwork, jumped 10%
Wow.
every time. So if a stock made it to the uh top of Reddit for like a week after, it would 100% go at least 10%, maybe 15%. If it's like a penny stock, maybe more.
Wow.
But but it takes a while for the post to make it to the top, right? So what I did I followed the post. I got up at like when the market opened, like 6:30 here, and I would scroll through and sort by, instead of like the best posts, I would sort by the posts that were like rising or the new posts. And then when I saw one that was rising a lot, posted like 15 minutes ago, it has a ton of upvotes, then that was likely to go up a lot. So
That's
I threw in. I would look at those stocks. I would throw in a ton. I would, or not a ton. I would throw in a decent amount of money into them, and then it would shoot up 10%, and then I get out the next day. But that worked for like 4 days in a row, and I was like, I'm the smartest person ever, you know.
I made it.
but but obviously people caught on to it.
Right.
Um, and then a lot of algorithms, it seemingly started doing the same thing. And then like I think it was like the fifth day that it did that. I was like, okay, this has been a guaranteed 4 days in a row. There's no way. So I put like even more into one of them, and then it didn't go up. It went down. So it went, I think it went up. Well, the thing is, I wasn't, even though I caught it within the first like 20, 30 minutes, it already went up a whole lot.
Oh
So it
wow.
was up like 10% already. And then it um, corrected like the next day or something like that. And I didn't have enough money in uh, my Robinhood account to make it so I could day trade.
Yeah,
So
you need a certain dollar
you
amount
you
for that.
needed to be $25,000 to be able to day trade. So if
It's
I got
casual.
into the stock, then I would have to
Wait
wait
a
a
day.
day to get out, which is one of the things that's nice about crypto, is you can just get in and get out.
Yep.
Um, so yeah, I made a lot of money there, and then I lost it, most of those gains, I think.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, this is too good to be true. But it was definitely like something that was clearly happening, and
Yeah.
a clear pattern that. But as soon as there becomes a clear pattern, people catch on to it pretty quickly.
Yep.
And now
100%.
it's tough to follow a lot of these forums, because even though they give good like insight, the reaction is so high after that insight that even if it's like really great analysis, the stock is probably went up like 10% that day because of this person's analysis.
Mm,
So I
right.
haven't been I haven't been following them as much lately, because it just seems like too many people are in that space, and um I don't know. There's not a lot of there's a lot of market manipulation in there as well.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy how influential those platforms and those forums can be, right?
Yeah.
Um, Let alone single celebrities just tweeting out what they,
Oh
just for
yeah, yeah.
fun.
Yeah.
It can do a lot of damage. But yeah, it's cool that you caught on and were a part of the hype for a little bit, and it seems like at least you came out neutral, all things
Yeah.
considered,
Yeah.
somewhat
It was
unscathed.
fun. I
But
was able to learn a lot through like doing it. So that was cool.
yeah, and were there any key takeaways though at the end of the day from that you're going to be moving forward with?
It just takes a lot of time.
Yeah, yeah,
It takes a lot of time and effort to make like really good financial choices like that, or to catch on to something like that. And if you, I don't know, it's kind of not worth the time at some point.
Mm-hmm.
So it's definitely interesting, and I might get back into it a little bit when I have more free time or something like that. But I think if you're going to make risky investments, it seems like you really need to put a decent amount of time into looking into those investments. And then the times that I've like not put as much time into it and been like just from a friend or just from like something, a news
Right.
article or something I see, then that's where a lot of times you get burned, I
Yeah.
think.
What are there certain platforms, or when I say platforms, are there certain news hubs or places that you typically would look to first, maybe outside of like the Reddit forums, that you would do your own due diligence on?
Yeah, so I listen to a lot of like financial podcasts as well, which I get kind of daily news from. Like Planet Money has a lot. There's a lot of good ones. The Market Watch has a good one. Robinhood Snacks is kind of a funny podcast. That's a little goofy, but it actually has like it does three interesting stories each time. They're pretty funny. I look at like some news articles from like Yahoo Finance. I peruse occasionally, and Motley Fool is
Motley Fool's good.
actually a fairly good resource. So they they have like their free post and stuff like that, which is a little clickbaity,
Yeah, for sure.
um, little clickbaity and not like that great. But their paid subscription, which actually comes with the American Express as a benefit of the American Express credit card that I have.
Oh,
Um,
cool.
their paid subscription actually has some pretty good stock picks and stock analysis. Um, and they've fairly consistently outperformed like the S&P. I've
Yep.
looked into that. I mean, they advertise that they do, but like there's been some third party. I mean, it's not hard to look at the stock picks and see how it's performed, but it seems like fairly consistently they've been quite a bit above average. So I kind of it was stocks on my radar, and then they also suggest that I kind of get that added boost of like this seems like it's probably a decent long-term investment. And I do think there's a little bit of a same stuff with any of these news articles where you get that initial boost where the stock goes higher than it should be if they just like did some recent analysis, recent new price target or something like that. But if you're doing long term 5 year investment, then 10% boost or maybe 5% over what it should be valued isn't like a huge thing.
Right.
It's better to be in a really good company that's maybe a little bit overvalued than a bad company that's undervalued, I think.
Yeah, well put. Well put. Um, and then the other article, another hub that I would also look to, you mentioned a lot. Like again, I look at Motley Fool quite a bit. What about like Seeking Alpha? Have you come across
Oh
those?
yeah, that's really good. They have really good stuff. I
Yeah.
think I've subscribed to their newsletter actually, and they send out too many emails for me to keep track of. So, but they do have some good stuff.
Yeah. And so, yeah, I think let's what we'll do here is we'll go back to uh your net assets conversation and make sure that see if there's anything else you want to add to that, and then we'll have some other final questions here.
Sounds
It's
good.
been a great conversation so far. Appreciate you
Thanks, man.
hanging out. Yeah,
Anytime.
John just commented, he said informative show, man. So
Oh,
I think
great.
that's all
Thanks.
kudos to you. Thanks for coming on,
Thanks for having me,
informing
man.
and educating. Love that, John. Thanks for sticking around and watching. Um, So if you and John, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. This is that's why we're live on Facebook. So feel free to, and if that goes for anybody watching at this show and others, feel free to comment and ask some questions live if you guys are interested in the subject.